In a year when Earth rarely looked up at the sky, a girl named Ilara lived in a quiet coastal town. Her father, Arvin, was one of the last astronomers who still wrote letters by hand. One night, before the old observatory was shut down, Arvin promised he would send one final letter from the moon, where he had been temporarily assigned. Ilara laughed at the promise, thinking her father was only trying to comfort her. But after the rocket launched, all communication was lost, and the world declared the mission a failure. Years passed. Ilara grew up to become a letter carrier, a profession many considered obsolete. She believed written words carried an honesty that modern voices had lost. One evening, as the sea reflected a deep red sunset, Ilara found a silver envelope inside her old mailbox. There was no stamp, only a moon symbol and her father's handwriting. Her heart raced as she opened it. The letter spoke of the moon not as a lonely place, but as a world filled with echoes of ancient cities hidden beyond the craters, and of something that was beginning to awaken. Arvin wrote that the moon held the memories of humanity, and if this letter reached her, it meant time was running out. Ilara read until night fell, feeling hope and fear intertwine. At the end of the letter were coordinates and a single sentence: "Come before the last light fades." Ilara looked up at the pale moon. For the first time, she felt her simple life was the beginning of something far greater, and that a single letter could truly change the fate of the world. The night wind whispered along the empty pier, as if urging Ilara to choose. She clenched the envelope, feeling its cold metallic edge, and realized she was no longer alone. A new determination grew within her, born from love and loss. With slow steps, Ilara walked home, swearing she would follow her father's message no matter the risk, because some letters are not meant to be read, but lived with one's whole heart. That night marked the beginning of a new legend, forever linking the moon, the earth, and the future of humanity. Ilara began her search using the coordinates from the letter. She went to the city archives, where old maps and launch records were stored. There she met Kale, a young technician obsessed with the Lost Moon mission. Kale recognized the symbol on the envelope and believed Arvin had discovered something the authorities had hidden. Together, they pieced together fragments of data that pointed to a secret orbital route. Their journey led them to an abandoned launch facility. Rusted machines and dark screens greeted them, but traces of power still remained. Kale managed to activate an old transmitter, triggering a brief message from the moon. Arvin's voice came through, distorted, warning them about the Guardians of Memory, entities tasked with protecting humanity's collected memories. If the memory collapsed, history itself would disappear. Ilara hesitated, afraid of losing her father a second time. But a second letter appeared, falling like dust made of light from the night sky. Arvin wrote that only someone bound by deep emotion could pass the Guardians. Ilara realized her role was no coincidence. With Kale's help, she prepared to leave Earth. The night of the launch arrived. Thin clouds drifted across the sky, and the moon looked closer than ever. As the rocket engines ignited, Ilara held her father's letter tightly, letting the words anchor her heart. She knew this journey was not merely a rescue mission, but a test of what it truly meant to remember and to be remembered. Before the hatch closed, Ilara looked back at Earth, her small town glowing like a fragile point of light. She remembered every letter she had delivered, every simple story that shaped human lives. All of it felt precious now. Kale sat at the controls, tense but hopeful. The countdown echoed, and in those silent seconds, Ilara vowed to protect the world's memories, whatever the cost. The rocket landed on the dark side of the moon, where shadows formed unfamiliar patterns. Ilara and Kael discovered an ancient structure hidden within a vast crater. Inside, glowing crystals spun slowly, each containing fragments of human memory, shining like tiny stars. The guardians of memory appeared as beings of light and questioned their intentions. To pass, Ilara was required to sacrifice her most precious memory. She thought of her childhood nights with her father, standing beside a telescope under endless skies. With tears in her eyes, Ilara surrendered that memory. The guardians opened the cath, but the sense of loss struck her deeply. They found Arvin, bound to the task of maintaining the balance of memory. He was proud of Ilara, yet warned her that the core of memory was cracking. If the fracture spread, humanity would forget its history and identity. Kael worked desperately to stabilize the crystals, while Ilara read her father's final letter. It contained instructions on how to unite memory with human emotion. Ilara understood her sacrifice was not yet complete, and that what was lost might be replaced by something new. The Guardians tested Ilara by showing her visions of a future without stories, without names. She faced the fear by writing a new letter directly onto the crystal surface. Her words were simple, honest, and filled with love. The crystal responded, pulsing with warmth. Arvin helped her connect those emotions to the memory network. Light spread, slowly sealing the fractures. Kael, nearly out of power, refused to give up, trusting in the strength of words. For a moment, the moon felt alive, breathing alongside humanity's memories. But the process demanded a price. One soul had to remain behind as a guardian. Arvin was ready to stay, but Ilara refused. She offered herself, believing loss could be healed. The lights paused, no decision was made, and time continued to slip away. The Guardians demanded a final choice. Ilara chose to stay, but Arvin could not accept her losing her life on Earth. Kael proposed a dangerous alternative: to divide the role of guardian. The ritual began, binding memory to 3 souls. Light engulfed them, revealing humanity's collective past: war, love, sorrow, and hope. The ritual partially succeeded. Arvin was released while Ilara and Kael remained connected to memory. They could return to Earth, but would forever feel the echoes of human experience. The Guardians accepted this new balance. The moon became a stable lighthouse of memory once more. Before parting, Arvin handed Ilara his final letter. He was proud, confident the world was safe. Ilara embraced her father, even though her childhood memories never fully returned. They boarded a rocket, carrying the moon's light within them. The journey home was quiet. Ilara watched Earth grow closer, its cities traced with lines of light. She felt unfamiliar memories mixing with her own, like countless gentle whispers. Kael recorded the changes, realizing that memory was now linked to human emotion on Earth. Every story told with sincerity would strengthen the moon. The consequences were clear. Ilara and Kael would never be entirely free from memory. They would feel the world's joy and sorrow. Arvin apologized, but Ilara only smiled. She had chosen this path. As the rocket entered the atmosphere, a soft green glow surrounded them, sealing a new pact between Moon and Earth. Earth slowly changed. People began writing again, sharing stories and listening to one another. Ilara continued her work as a letter carrier, now feeling the gentle pulse of memory in every envelope. Kyle worked quietly behind the scenes, maintaining the balance. The moon shone warmer, a symbol of shared remembrance. One day, Ilara received a letter with no address. Inside was only a soft glow. She understood it as a farewell and a message of gratitude from memory itself. Ilara smiled, realizing her task was never to save the world alone, but to remind humanity to listen. Standing once more on the same pier, Ilara gazed at the moon. She wrote her final letter, not to be sent, but to be kept in her heart. The world would continue to change, but as long as stories were preserved, humanity would never truly disappear. Children read stories aloud, elders wrote down old memories, and the coastal town came alive again. Ilara walked among them as a quiet witness to meaningful change. She felt her father's presence in every laugh and every tear. Memory no longer felt heavy, but warm. At sunset, Kyle joined Ilara. They shared a silent understanding beneath the silver moon, which seemed to listen. Ilara knew that one day new guardians would rise, but the foundation was strong. Letters would continue to be written, read, and passed on. With light steps, Ilara moved forward with her life. She was not a grand hero, only a keeper of stories, and that was enough. For the world is built from small stories protected by love. Night fell gently, carrying a new peace as the sea breeze whispered gratitude to the moon, faithful guardian of human memory. The final letter was complete, and life continued, guided by hope, shared remembrance, and enduring light.